Hey everybody. So today I'm going to talk about the exciting subject of zip ties. And I say that, but I will recognize that it is something, as far as I get passionate about stuff, zip ties are one of the things that I can tend to get a little bit passionate about. Um, Probably most people don't put much thought into zip ties, but at least with me, working on trucks every day, they tend to be a big deal. And I think a lot of people don't put enough thought into what they're doing with zip ties. So here's I got a list of things I'm going to go through that I think are worth considering and be better for everybody if they followed my advice when it comes to zip ties here. So first one is, after you install a zip tie, cut the tail off. Nothing looks less professional or is more annoying. It's ugly to look at. It looks lazy, looks just unprofessional. Cut the tail off your zip tie. Now, having said that, again, don't be lazy. Every mechanic you've ever met, and probably, a lot of people that don't even work on trucks very much, has ended up with like 3 or 4 inch bleeding cuts on their arms from zip ties that were cut off and had a jagged spur at the end of the head. And I mean, that just makes you mad because somebody else's laziness just drew your blood. Don't do that to people. Don't do that to yourself. I mean, if you're the only one that ever works on your vehicle and you do it to yourself, then hey, fine, whatever. But don't do that to me. So when you have a zip tie, you got it around something, don't cut it off at an angle like that where you got a spur that's gonna hurt me. And this is a little zip tie. You get one of those thicker ones, something like that. Those things don't give, and they are sharp as all get out. So what we want to do is we want to get a nice set of flush cut dikes. These are a Snap-on pair. There's a Mac pair. You'll notice both of them are spring loaded, and they're set where the one side, it's just about completely flush, and that way you can lay it against the head and cut it, and there's nothing there to hurt you. And it looks professional. It looks awesome when it's done. I mean, yeah. If you're doing any of your own work and you bring your truck to me, please do that. I mean it. It's a big deal to me. These pliers are a little expensive, but we only use them on zip ties. We don't use them on nothing else because we want a easy, clean, quick cut on the end of all our zip ties. Okay, so hopefully that's enough on that subject. Next thing, when you're wrapping a zip tie around something, a lot of times it's like a group of cables or something. You feed one in this way, well, feed the next one in this way. Don't turn it around and go the other direction. It looks sloppy and unprofessional. It's, same thing with hose clamps. You want to put them in the same direction so they're all facing the same way. I mean, unless something's going to rub or interfere or something, you have no choice. Consistency shows everybody that you're paying attention to the job you're doing. You're doing a good professional job. So, also in the same vein, route all the zip ties around stuff the same way, but put the head in the same location down the line of zip ties so that it all looks neat and professional. Same thing with hose clamps, with air-to-air clamps. Get all of them positioned in a place where it's consistent and you can show everybody, hey, I'm paying attention to the job I'm doing. All right, here's another one that's a real big deal. When you're installing zip ties in an automotive application on a truck, you need to use black zip ties. The black ones are UV resistant. It seems like, about every truck that I get that somebody's working on their own trucks, I see white zip ties. Those are not UV resistant. They don't break down, and eventually they'll fail due to the sun hitting them. They're just not as strong. They look unprofessional. In my mind, using a white zip tie on your truck is like using wire nuts on your truck. Wrong application. You use butt connectors and heat shrink and stuff like that. Wire nuts are for houses. White zip ties are for houses. So, yeah, please be professional. Use the right part for the right job. Having said that, we do have a pack of colored zip ties in the shop. They got their use. We use those as we're taking stuff apart and trying to mark and identify stuff. We'll put a colored zip tie on either corresponding parts, or we'll zip tie something and then make a note, well, this collar goes here. But after we get things reassembled, those zip ties come off. Be professional. Remove the stuff that you don't need. Same way. If you're cutting into a system, releasing wires or hoses or whatever else, and you're cutting zip ties, pull the zip ties out of the truck and throw them away. Don't leave them up in the truck frame rail and different stuff like that. That just more, junk and grease, salt, everything. Everything clings to it. It just makes the truck dirtier. It makes you look unprofessional. So pull that out, throw it away. Don't be lazy. When you're installing zip ties, get them tight. If you can't do that just with your hand, sometimes you don't have enough of a tail to pull on well, or it's in an odd location, get a pair of pliers, pull them tight. You want stuff to be tight. If it's not pulled tight, what's the point of the zip tie? Just leave it loose in the frame and let it wear on whatever you want to wear on. The thing is like zip ties are used to protect your hoses and your AC lines, your fuel lines, your air lines, so they don't wear. So make sure everything's tight. It's worth it to get it secured well. Any job that you're doing is worth doing well. Same thing goes for or same thought goes with, if you're going to zip tie something up, if it's a big heavy set of battery cables, zip tie them with a big zip tie, not a little one. Do one that's going to hold up over time and do the right job. And I'll tell you, this is a big deal. I had one truck about 8 years ago, roughly. So guy had just bought the truck, had it a week and a half. Beautiful, nice, Peterbilt, 07 Peterbilt, just real nice truck. It was the nicest truck he'd ever owned. He was real proud of it. Had it a week and a half, and it burnt down. And so we got to checking it out after the fire and everything. It burnt the cab and the bunk off of it. The rest was all right. But you hear what had happened is somebody had an inverter in the bunk before he bought it, and it's still there. But they did a real nice job as far as it was a big inverter. They had big 2-watt battery cables ran to it, high quality wire, really fine welding wire type wire. It really held the amperage and could carry it over the distance and everything. That was great. But they had it zip tied up underneath the bunk, and the zip tie broke and it fell down on the frame, and those cables, because they were good quality cables, ended up shorting out and caught fire, lost the truck. And so yeah, use zip ties that are supposed to be used in the application. Use the size that's supposed to be used, and use plenty, because it's a big deal that things are secured well. And the last thing I'd suggest is something that we use all the time. These zip tie anchors. You can buy these from Peterbilt or Kenworth. Part number's CM1065. They're maybe roughly $1.50, $2 a piece or something. But you know, with a 1/4-inch bolt, you can attach them anywhere. And so nowadays, anytime that we're working on a little truck that had the metal P-clips, you know, with the rubber on the inside of the metal deal, and the metal would rust out and the rubber would fall apart and everything, we just automatically remove those unless there's a super important like heat issue or something. But typically we'll remove those, bolt in one of those anchors, and put in one of the heavy zip ties, and it secures it much better than those P-clips ever did, and they're cheaper than P-clips. And if you ever have to tear into it again, cutting a zip tie is a whole lot easier than removing P-clips and then replacing them. So I mean, you know, keep 20 or 40 of those on hand all the time, and replace them and use them in areas needed, and it is well worth the time to do that and the cost. Couple more things with zip tie. You know, use a zip tie somewhere to zip tie a spare key on your truck if you haven't. I mean, it's simple and easy, and it's worth the time it takes to do it. And yeah, I guess my last use for zip ties, that, you know, they can be fun. Don't forget, you can always use a long zip tie or two attached to a drive shaft to annoy your friends, or zip tie a harmonica on their truck somewhere and enjoy the results. So anyways, I don't know how many people have typically watched a video like this long on zip ties, but to me, they're kind of a big deal. Anyway, talk to you guys later.